Well, hello everybody. Well, here's what you missed today. What we're going to do today, guys, is I need to cover section 6-1 with you. What you'll need in front of you, of course, is a class notes. It says Day 1 Class Examples. A lot of what we do today will be review. I need to review factoring with you. That's going to show up again today. And then we'll talk about the domain of a fraction. Basically, that means we cannot allow you to divide by 0. Because if you check that in your calculator, of course, you're going to get an error. A lot of the things that we've done today, guys, addition, subtraction, multiplication, we've done them all. The new one's going to be this division and stating the domain, the numbers that we could use. Then, of course, there'll be a worksheet at the end. And then we are really going to start practicing perfect cubes and perfect fourth roots. We will do this at least once every class coming up. So if you're here, I'd answer questions on these screens right now. I'm not sure if I can get that 100 to go away up there. But guys, it looks like that's going to really be x squared minus x minus 20. Now, I'm going to review factoring with you. And I'm going to keep all the factoring that we do, the easy factoring, the green light factoring. So, trip down memory lane. Remember to factor x squared minus x minus 20. You would have two parentheses with an x there and an x there. Your job would be go find two numbers that multiply to be negative 20 that we can make add up to be negative 1. Two numbers that multiply to be negative 20 that we can make add up to be negative 1. Now we will go a step further today. We will set each of these equal to 0 and get my two answers of positive 5 and negative 4. I should have left a little room for that, but I just want to review some factoring with you. So number 2, here's another one just like it. There's no number right in front of there. It's a 1. So we're going to go two parentheses, x and an x. Your job, go find me two numbers that multiply to be 24, positive 24, that add up to be positive 10. And if we do that, I'm going to get a positive 4 and a positive 6. If I set that equal to 0, I'm going to get negative 4 and negative 6. My third quick review, x squared minus 5x minus 36. Another one where there's just a 1 right there. So two parentheses, x and an x. Your job, two numbers that multiply to be 36. So your choices, 1 and 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, 6 times 6. Go find the ones that you can make add up to be negative 5. So I'm going to have a negative 9 and a positive 4, meaning my two solutions are going to be 9 and negative 4. So there's the first kind of factoring I want to review with you. No number in front of the x squared other than a 1. The next two guys here, these are called difference of squares. Reason being, you know that square root and you know that square root, and there's no middle term. Remember, to make this middle term disappear, we got to have a plus and a minus. And then you just take the square roots. The square root of 4x squared is 2x. The square root of 25 is 5. To get my two solutions, add 5, divide by 2. Subtract 5, divide by 2. And then one last one, difference of squares. There's no middle term. It's a difference of squares, so I got a positive and a negative. Do the square roots. That's a 3x. Square root of 64 is 8. Go get your two answers. Add 8, divide by 3. Subtract 8, divide by 3. So I just need to get some factoring review in you real fast. That's going to show up here in just a little bit. This may not be on your sheet either, but I just wanted to show you something real fast. It says, finding the domain of a fraction, we can't allow the denominator to be 0. If you want, try to take your favorite number and divide it by 0, and you're going to find your calculator is going to give you an error. You can't divide by 0. So It says, for each of the following, state the number or numbers that cannot be used. Well, look at your first one real fast. What number turns this x into a 0? Well, 0. So in this case, x can't be 0. Go to your number 2. What turns x plus 2 into 0? Well, a negative 2 would do that if you solve that. So I'm going to say that x cannot be negative 2, because negative 2 plus 2 gives me 0 in the denominator. My number 3, x minus 8 equals 0. Add 8 to both sides. X cannot be 8. And the last one, if you set this equal to 0, you would add 3, divide by 2. That's what your x cannot be. So there's where we are so far. Now, let me get on to the lesson now. You're going to see some things like this today. The notation is going to look a little weird to you, but guys, we've done it. You're going to see the sum of some polynomials today. If you see this, f plus g of x, all it means, take the function of f, add it to the function of g. We've done that before, it just looks different. Difference, f minus g of x, it means take the function of f minus the function of g. Same thing with the product, means we're going to multiply. Let me get back, my screen shouldn't jump like that. Multiply, the quotient will be the new one today. When that shows up, we might have to factor. That's why I set that equal to 0 earlier for you. Okay, so if you would, come over to your notes if you would. Let me see if I can get that up a little bit more. See if I can get this out of the way. There we go. So let me get some black ink here, and here goes. Guys, look at your first one. It says f of x is 5x minus 4. G of x is 3x minus 2. We would like to go f plus g of x. Watch how easy this is. See if this sounds familiar. I'm going to go 5x minus 4 plus 3x minus 2. There's f of x. There's g of x. Now let's just add them up. Ending answer, 8x minus 6. I don't need to do anything fancy with that because we're done. And there's no fraction. Let's jump over to this subtraction one. F minus g of x means f of x minus g of x. Be careful when you write this. This is going to look like this. 5x minus 4 minus the quantity 3x minus 2. Now let's go simplify this. 5x minus 3x is 2x. Negative 4 minus negative 2, be careful. Negative 4 minus negative 2 means negative 4 plus 2. So this is going to be minus 2. So guys, we've done it before. It just looks different. The notation's a little bit different. F times g of x means f of x times g of x. Here's what this means. I've got 5x minus 4 times 3x minus 2. Guess what we're going to do to these? We're going to FOIL them out. So here goes. 5x times 3x, I've got 15x squared. I've got 5x times negative 2, so I've got minus 10x. I've got negative 4 times negative 4 times 3, so I've got negative 12x. And negative 4 times negative 2 looks like positive 8. Combine those like terms. So I've got 15x squared minus 22x plus 8. There's our multiplication. Guys, notice so far there hasn't been anything special, anything different. Just things that we've done throughout the year. Here comes the newest one. It says f divided by g of x, which means f of x divided by g of x. Well, here's what I'm going to have. I'm going to have the function of f, which is 5x minus 4, over 3x minus 2. Now, we can't simplify this because there's no squares in there to factor. The only thing that you're going to have to do now is tell the world what number cannot be used. So look at your denominator real fast. I'm going to set 3x minus 2 equal to 0. And we're going to solve that. And I want you to do that in your head. You would add 2, divide by 3. There's the number you can't use. So moral of the story so far. When we divide, we're going to have to tell what number or numbers that cannot be used. If there's a squared that shows up, we're going to have to factor. No squared, then just set it equal to 0. Okay? I've only got a few more here to do with you. If you would, come over to your number 2 now. I'm going to pick the pace up a little bit. F of x for each of the following. In this case, f of x is 8x minus 3. G of x is 4x plus 5. So here goes. To do f plus g of x, I'm going to take 8x minus 3 plus 4x plus 5. Go combine your like terms. So I'm going to get 12x plus 2. I'm done. Do not set that equal to 0 because there's no denominator. There's no fraction. Here's my part B. I'm going to take f of x, which is 8x minus 3, minus the quantity 4x plus 5. Now guys, if you don't want to write out the minus the quantity, you could also do this. Here's what I do on my answer key. When I see minus, I distribute a negative sign in there. So I'm going to think of that as minus 4x minus 5. Either way. Now go combine your like terms. I'm going to get 4x minus 8. F times g of x, just what you think. I'm going to go 8x minus 3 times 4x plus 5. And we're just going to FOIL this out. So I'm going to get 32x squared plus 40x minus 12x minus 15. Looks like I'm going to have 32x squared plus 28x minus 15. Okay. Let's look at the division one now. I'm going to go ahead and write the answer, guys. There's no squareds involved. If there's no squareds, there's no factoring. So my answer is going to be 8x minus 3 over 4x plus 5. But I got to tell the world what number cannot be used. So set 4x plus 5 equal to 0, which means I'm going to subtract 5, divide by 4. So boom. There we've got that first one done. Okay. Here goes number 3. A little bit tougher, but that's okay because there's a squared that shows up. So here goes my part A. It says f of x plus g of x. I'm going to have x squared plus x minus 6 plus x minus 2. Notice, guys, when I use the plus, I don't write any parentheses. Ending answer, x squared plus 2x minus 8. F minus g of x, I'm going to write down the function of f, which once again is x squared plus x minus 6. And I'm going to distribute my negative sign in here. So I'm going to go minus x plus 2. I'm kind of saving a step here. I distributed that negative so I don't have to mess with parentheses. So I'm going to have x squared. X and negative x are out of there. Minus 4. Okay? Multiplication one's the one that takes a little bit of time. I'm going to take x squared plus x minus 6, and I'm going to multiply it by x minus 2. If there's a shortcut here, I'd give it to you, but there's not. I'm going to take this x times each item in here. So I'm going to have x to the third plus x squared minus 6x. So I've done the x part. Now I'm going to take the negative 2 and do the same thing. So I've got minus 2x squared minus 2x plus 12. Let's go combine your like terms. I spy an x cubed. If I combine the x squareds, I've got positive 1 and negative 2. So I've got minus x squared. Here's a negative 6 and a negative 2. So I've got minus 8x plus 12. So multiplication takes a little bit of time. Now guys, let's check out division. Since there's a squared, I'm going to write it first because it'll probably factor. So I'm going to write down x squared plus x minus 6. There's f of x over g of x. One thing I already know, let's set this denominator equal to 0. Let's tell the world right now that we know we can't be 2. Now we're going to factor the numerator. So 2 parentheses, x and an x. I need you to go get me two numbers that multiply to be negative 6 that we can add up to be 1. So I got positive 3 and negative 2 over x minus 2. So now guys, here's a quantity x minus 2 and another quantity x minus 2. These cancel out, leaving me an answer of x plus 3. So there's the new part of the day. Be careful with that. Be careful with that part. Okay. Let's look at your number 4. I'll probably go through number 4 with you guys, and maybe at least part of number 5, and then I'll quit. I don't want my video to get too long. So here's number 4. F of x plus g of x. I'm going to have 4x squared minus 9 plus 2x minus 3. Combine your like terms and get 4x squared plus 2x minus 12. Stop. Do not try to factor that. Do not work with it or anything, because we're done. Here comes f of x minus g of x. I'm going to go 4x squared minus 9 minus 2x plus 3. Combine your like terms. So I'm going to get 4x squared minus 2x minus 6. Stop. We're done. We don't have to worry about any restrictions because we did not divide. F of x times g of x. I've got 4x squared minus 9 times 2x minus 3. And we're going to FOIL this out. So I've got 8x to the third, because remember when you multiply you add your exponents, minus 12x squared minus 18x plus 27. There's no like term, so that is my answer. I'm going to come up here and write it on the blank. Okay. Now the last part, f of x divided by g of x. So I'm going to write down 4x squared minus 9 over 2x minus 3. Let's right away tell the world what we cannot use. So look at your denominator, set it equal to 0, and I'm going to get 3 over 2. Now let's go simplify this. 4x squared minus 9 is a difference of squares. So I'm going to have a plus and a minus, a 2x and a 2x, a 3 and a 3, and the denominator stays as 2x minus 3. Notice that there's a 2x minus 3 in common. Ending answer that I'm left with is just a 2x plus 3. Okay? Now, let's do a little bit of number 5, because I think I got 5 and a number 6 on there. But so here goes my number 5. Guys, I'm going to skip, for the sake of the video, the addition and the subtraction, because we ought to be able to get that. Let's do the multiplication, though. I'm going to have x squared minus 7x minus 18 times x squared minus 4. There's really no shortcut to this. I'm going to distribute this x squared to everything. So I got x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. I've got x squared times negative 7x is negative 7x cubed. And I've got x squared times negative 18 is negative 18x squared. So there's my first part of it. Now I've got to come back and do the negative 4. So negative 4 times x squared is negative 4x squared plus 28x plus 72. Combine your like terms. So I spy an x to the 4th. It looks like the 7x cubed is a loner. Looks like I can combine those two and get negative 22x squared plus 28x plus 72. So we're just multiplied it out. Now be careful on letter D again. I've got f of x divided by g of x. So this will be our last one, guys. F of x is x squared minus 7x minus 18 over x squared minus 4. Let's stop for a second and concentrate on the denominator. Let's look at x squared minus 4 and set that equal to 0. I'm going to have two answers this time. I'm going to factor this into x minus 2 and x plus 2 because it's a difference of squares. So let's come up and tell the world real fast. X cannot be 2 and negative 2. So I factored it and set each equal to 0. Now let's factor the top. X squared minus 7x minus 18. X and an x there and there. I need two numbers that multiply to be negative 18 that we can make add up to be negative 7. That looks like negative 9 and positive 2. Look at what you got left for a second. These are going to cancel out. I still need both answers up here, but those cancel out, leaving my answer as x minus 9 over x minus 2. Okay, so guys, there's the lesson. I could talk about this number 6, but we're going to have the same thing. It's almost easier. When you see this, when you do the addition, here's the answer. 3x squared plus 2 over x. The little trick part, though, I got a fraction. I got to tell the world that I can't have 0 in the denominator. The subtraction is going to look like 3x squared minus 2 over x. A fraction shows up. Tell the world that we can't use, boy, that's not like me, is it? Tell the world that I can't use 0. Watch what happens on this multiplication, though. I've got 3x squared times 2 over x. This is really 6x squared over x. But notice that there's 2 x's in the numerator, 1 in the denominator. This simplifies to 6x. So my answer is 6x, but since a fraction showed up, I got to tell the world that I can't be 0. And then last but not least, here's what I've got. I've got 3x squared divided by 2 over x. Guys, I wrote it a little bit different this time because I got a fraction. So once again, let's tell the world that we can't have 0 in the denominator. This now becomes 3x squared times the reciprocal. Ending answer, 3x to the third, because x squared times x is cubed, all over 2. So guys, that's a lesson that you missed in about a 25-minute video. Not hard, but just focus on the denominators. Good luck to you guys, and if you have any questions, please come in. We will do a homework quiz on this next class, so make sure you understand it. Good luck.